Welcome to the Nano podcast. I'm your host, Will Chernlin, and I'm excited to have you join me on this journey through the world of nano-cap companies. For the past decade, I've talked to thousands of business owners across various industries. It's been an enlightening experience revealing the vast tapestries of entrepreneurship and innovation that thrives beneath the surface of mainstream media coverage. Each week, I will interview different leaders of nano-cap publicly traded companies to learn about their history, what they do now, and their future. As a reminder, none of this information is financial advice, and it is all for entertainment purposes only. Let's start this week's episode. Hi, everyone. This week we have Lance Alstodt, Chairman and CEO of BioRestorative Therapies, stock ticker BRTX. BioRestorative is advancing stem cell science to address an unmet need in chronic pain and metabolic disorders. Lance, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks, Will. Appreciate you having me here.
So looking into your background, you have kind of a traditional banking background until you were a founding member of the MedTech team at Bank of America. So tell me about what was MedTech even back then? What were the hot trends that people were trying to get into? What got you interested in MedTech instead of just kind of the traditional just banking route?
Well, thanks for looking at my background. As you know, I'm a career investment banker, 25 years working at bulge bracket firms, JP Morgan, B of A Merrill, and one or two others. But my domain expertise was really medical technology, and that is M&A advisory and capital raising, mostly on the equity side, but we did do some debt. But the trends in terms of sectors, if you looked at the life sciences and medical technology sector as a general focus, you can break it into 25 different sub-verticals. And where I spent time, which is really where a lot of the activity was at the time, was really around cardio, neuro, and ortho. And when I say ortho, I mean orthopedic. And I spent a lot of time in those three subsectors because of the amount of volume and activity with some of the larger medical technology companies like Boston Scientific and Medtronic and Stryker and Zimmer and Smith & Nephew. And it was really a barbell approach, right? You covered the large strategic acquirers, and they use some of these small emerging growth technologies as their R&D opportunities for acquisition. So we really spent time covering the large guys as well as the small guys, where we would be representing one of those in an M&A transaction, either the buy side or the sell side. So through that process, I got to learn a tremendous amount of what was inherent within the comprehensive portfolios of these large companies, where the trends were, where the growth was, what was truly interesting technology that wasn't just making incremental value enhancements, but truly finding solutions to chronic issues within the body and big opportunities within healthcare. So concentric circles around healthcare, like heart disease and chronic pain and metabolic health, and major dollars being spent in those areas. So that's really where the focus was. And I would say that, a disproportionate amount of my time was spent in orthopedics. And then within orthopedics was really spine. So I had the fortune of really developing the spine industry with my colleagues in terms of participating in most of the M&A transactions that occurred within spine, and a lot of the IPOs and follow-ons that brought a lot of these emerging technologies to the market. So I really got to understand what was in these portfolios, where the needs were, what really represented the holy grail of opportunities. And that's how I came upon BioRestorative.
So I'm going to do a side question real quick, but I'm a big sports fan, and I hear from all these ex-athletes all the time that they're so thankful that they didn't get spine surgery. As you're saying, you kind of became an expert in spine. What is it about spine surgery that it somehow makes you lesser and that people are happy they never got it? What's the deal with the technology there?
Sure. And I think it's important to really take a step back to understand what are the options for you if you've got chronic pain. And most people, when they go to their doctor, they present, I've got lower back pain. It's killing me. I can't go to work. I can't go skiing. I can't play golf. I can't play with my children, just basic lifestyle that they want to maintain. And it's not a matter of getting old per se, right? It's not, and it's not a male or female type of thing. It's really degenerative disc disease can occur with anyone, no matter what your age, no matter what your sex, no matter what your gender. So it's really pervasive, and it affects tens of millions of Americans and tens of millions of people worldwide. So when you present, the doctor will most likely write you a script for an anti-inflammatory, a pharmacological solution, an opioid, or recommend that you do some physical therapy or get a steroid injection. But after you've exhausted what we call this conservative therapy, there's really no other options except for surgical intervention. And to your question, when we talk about surgical intervention, we're talking mostly about laminectomies, discectomies, fusions, motion preservation devices, all the instrumentation that these big manufacturers, these device companies make. And the revision rates or the resurgery rates are upwards of 35% in many cases. And that's a problem. That means these are not good outcomes. And because these surgeries need to be revised, the insurance companies are getting really tired for paying for them. So they're asking the provider to do a whole host of extra diagnostics on their patients. And it's creating a lot of mismanagement of time and efficiency and cost. And these surgeries are invasive. They cost upwards of $200,000. So there's this chasm of opportunity between conservative therapy and surgical intervention. And that's where we introduce our technology.
As kind of go back to in your career, as you worked in the different banking and financial kind of category, you then start MedVest. And at that point, you must have heard so many different pitches for so many different solutions for chronic pain. What about BioRestorative stood out to you that you were like, I need to get more involved with this. I need to work on this. Was it just a patent when you heard about it? Was it just research? Was it actually something going on, but they needed more of a finance CEO person to take the wheel? Or kind of what was that first introduction like?
So as you know, I still run MedVest. It's an investment firm. We have a portfolio of companies, BioRestorative being one of them. And when I came across BioRestorative, it was really the chairman of their DISC advisory board, their scientific advisory board, who is a friend, and he's the head of spine medicine at Northwell, which is the largest hospital system in New York. And he said, I think we've got something here. We've got this incredible technology. He said, I don't know much about the finances, and I don't know much if we're on the right track from a public company standpoint, but the technology is game changing if it works. So I took a look at it, and we have a team of PhDs that did a whole bunch of work on it as well. And we looked at historical literature on mesenchymal cells and the foundational formation of this technology that we're using. And we were really excited about it. And then I socialized it with some of my former clients, some of those large strategic spine companies, if you will, and orthopedic companies, as well as some pharmaceutical companies that I thought would be really interested in this technology. And they said, Lance, if you could finance this company and get it through the regulatory pathway, you're going to be changing lives. That represents the Holy Grail. And we would love the opportunity. If we have to pay more for it, we'll pay more for it. But we don't want to take that early onset of the risk, marching it through the regulatory pathway, because it's such an emerging market and there hasn't been a lot of precedent for cell therapies going through the FDA at that time. So I got really excited about it. We put an investment in the company, and we kind of took over from a governance perspective and a management perspective. And we made some incredible strides between that time, which was back in 2019, 2020, until now. So now we're sitting with this great clinical program. We've got a commercial platform. We have a preclinical program. One is in musculoskeletal pain for chronic lower back pain. One is in metabolic health, which is another billion-dollar market opportunity. And the third is a commercial platform around biocosmeceuticals. We're able to leverage all of our technologies, our vertically integrated manufacturing facilities, quality control, all across each of these platforms. So it's really a fun place to be. and seeing the progress is absolutely game changing.
So we've danced around it a bit, but I'd love to hear in your own words, what is BioRestorative Therapies and what differentiates it from like other regenerative medicines and cell therapy companies on the market?
Yeah, I mean, I always say, I mean, my canned response to those questions are that we're a leading regenerative medicine company that pioneers stem cell-based therapies across clinical and commercial platforms. Our clinical programs target critical healthcare needs, including degenerative disc disease and metabolic disorders. And we have this biocosmetic commercial platform that advances novel cell-based biologics in aesthetics and wellness applications. Where we're unique, I think, is that we're not pursuing incremental innovation. We're working on therapies that can fundamentally change how chronic conditions like back pain, for example, are treated. And just as important, the platform approach combining clinical development with commercial business creates a much more balanced and strategic model than most early stage or nano cap biotech companies.
So to put your finance hat on, how do you kind of balance capital allocation from still working on R&D and maybe working on new solutions to new problems and just trying to fund all the different clinical research needed to get through all the different phases?
Yeah, I mean, we're highly disciplined in how we allocate capital. We think about it from a prioritization of our programs with the highest probability of value creation and milestones, and look for opportunities to really leverage partnerships and non-dilutive financing when possible. Our goal is really to advance the pipeline while being thoughtful about shareholder dilution. It's really a combination of disciplined spending, prioritization of key programs, and really pursuing strategic partnerships. I think importantly, our biocosmetics platform, which, as I said earlier, is commercial, we're looking for that to provide a pathway of potential revenue generation, which is relatively unique for a company of our size. So we're able to, grow organically from a financial perspective and also be really pragmatic and prudent and allocate towards high value and high margin opportunities within our clinical pipeline.
So you mentioned partnerships, and then you also mentioned earlier vertical integration. So when it comes to distribution, are you kind of considering some sort of kind of hybrid approach where you produce some of your own drugs and distribute those while also licensing out your therapies to the bigger companies out there in some sort of partnership?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we see opportunities across multiple areas, including aesthetic distribution partnerships, potential licensing around our thermostat metabolic programs, and strategic collaborations on the clinical side. And, these partnerships can really help accelerate development timelines and provide external validation. On the spine program, our goal is really to go from a phase 2, and now we're initiating phase 3 activities, which really represents late stage clinical. So we're now going to start having some of those discussions around what does the commercial opportunity look like and how are we best suited strategically to address the unmet need. And my guess is that will include a lot of discussions with strategic partners around that from a distribution standpoint.
So this may not directly apply to you all, but I'm curious with your background. It seems like some biotech companies, just like some startups, are kind of more built to be sold someday, and that they kind of have these key pieces that some may be super valuable to some larger company later on, while other ones are built to kind of be their own standalone business and run as their own moving forward. And kind of how does it work differently with the culture inside the business? How does it kind of work from like a planning point of view? And like, when do you decide that you think you're just going to be a standalone company for the next multiple decades, opposed to something that's going to be a nice acquisition target for a larger company, like say a Pfizer or whatever?
I think most, or if not all, strategic acquisitions are done without the target company ever really building it for sale. So we don't build our company as if we're trying to sell our company, because I think in that regard, you definitely cut some corners and you miss the real focus on fundamentally driving the most intrinsic value possible for shareholders. And I think you have to kind of have the mindset that you're building something great from a standalone perspective. And I think people will recognize that success. And where you need help and assistance through collaborative efforts, whether it be through clinical or manufacturing or distribution or commercialization, then those partnerships can turn into a more involved and larger strategic opportunity. Culturally, I think we're driven to create the best possible company on a standalone basis. And by doing that, I think it opens up our optionality as we explore both financial and strategic alternatives.
So, Lance, where do you see BioRestorative then in, say, 5 years? What trial are you hoping to be on by then? Or do you have some sort of distribution? Is it in patients? Where do you see yourself?
Yeah, I love that question because I think about it in terms of having an approved product, the first approved autologous cell therapy licensed to be used for degenerative disc disease in the lumbar space. And I think that's really powerful. That's a multi-billion-dollar market opportunity. And what I can see is really driving that business and that technology either on a standalone basis or, like I said, with partnership and really addressing this huge unmet need in chronic lower back pain. In addition to that, we have a biocosmeceutical side that's only a couple of months old. So 5 years from now, I'm hopeful that there's really no need for external capital. And by the way, I'm not using 5 years as our timeline for that. I'm saying this commercial business is going to afford us the opportunity to become more financially independent, less dependent on the external capital markets. So I view that business as being a very large business at that time, really driving a family of products through skincare and hair care, and really the sky is the limit, determining where that technology can take us. So I view us being a very large publicly traded company, whether it's standalone or we've been acquired or pieces of our business have been acquired. But it's not something, like I said, we're planning for today, other than really driving to the commercialization of our cell-based technologies.
I may add this in, but I am curious, is it easier to test out some of these things and do different trials in different countries outside of the US, since stem cells is still kind of a touchy thing here in the US, but like in Australia, you might be able to do a lot quicker tests?
Yeah, and we've explored that, and we will continue to explore opportunities, whether it makes more sense from a financial perspective, so long as the data is accepted here within the country. I think the big opportunity for us is in the United States, with tens of millions of patients and Americans that suffer from these diseases. So while we will explore it, and we have looked at places like Australia and some places throughout Europe, mostly driven by, tax incentives and costs, we just want to confirm and make sure that from an FDA perspective, that data is valid and can be used as, confirmatory in order to get the BLA license.
Awesome. So people want to hear more about BioRestorative, learn more about what you're up to. Where should I send my audience?
So we have a website. It's www.biorestorative.com. Our ticker symbol is BRTX. You can always follow us on your screen as well. But, I would also mention that this is a very catalyst-rich environment for us right now, meaning we're going to be coming out and talking about some really great things that the company is doing, both on the clinical side in terms of data. We are going to be unblinding top-line data related to our phase 2 study for chronic lower back pain. And we're really excited about that top-line data. We're unblinded, so I don't know what it says now, but we're fully enrolled in the 99-patient study. So we have a 12-month follow-up from the last patient dosed, and that's when we're going to unblind the data. So that's going to be a huge event for the company. It's a binary reaction, right? To the extent that the data is good, we're very optimistic that it will be. The safety profile is pristine because it's autologous, meaning we're using the patient's own cells, and the efficacy data that we've seen shows a very strong signal based on a blinded basis that the product is really working. So we're excited about that. And we have a whole bunch of presentations that we're going to. We're speaking at the podium at academic symposiums, talking about our updated data with more patients over a longer period of time, as well as on the biocosmetic side. We're going to start talking about some really interesting strategic partnerships, as well as hopefully traction on the revenue side. So a lot of things to look forward to. I think there's only upside here with what we're doing here at BioRestorative.
Lance, do you have an exact date of when that unveiling is, or is that still kind of up in the air?
We're still in the process of locking down. So we'll have a better sense shortly. I'm happy to come back and talk more about it.
No, it's very, very exciting. And like you said, a very exciting kind of binary event. It's almost like waiting to watch like a rocket launch or something. So
right. Well, that's how we feel. And there's been a lot of years to get to this point. Remember, this was a 99 patient prospective randomized double-blinded single disc sham controlled study, which is really the best of its kind, gold standard under the auspices of the FDA. So the data from this trial is going to be novel, proprietary, and game-changing. So we're excited. This is going to change. It's going to be a paradigm-shifting result based on such a large, probably one of the largest spine trials ever to be done in the biologic space. So we're really excited for the answer.
Awesome. Lance, thank you so much for coming on the show and for all you do to kind of go after those unmet needs in chronic pain. And for those of you still listening, please remember to subscribe and review. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Will. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
This podcast is for informational purposes only and does not provide financial, legal, or any other advice. The information is not investment advice or any offer to buy or sell any securities or to make any investment. The views expressed by the guests are their own, and any reference to third-party products, services, or information does not constitute an endorsement, therefore, by NanoCap Podcast or its affiliates. The NanoCap Podcast express disclaims all liability for any individual's use of the information presented in this